Good morning, class. So, last lecture we have seen some introductory part regarding the atomic absorption spectroscopy. Okay, so we will just overview it what we have seen. So, the first definition of atomic spectra. So, when AMR falls on an atom, it undergoes either absorption or emission. Okay, so during that day, the spectrum is formed. That spectrum is called as atomic spectra. So, it is defined as the spectrum of the EMR, which is emitted or absorbed by the electron during the transition between different energy levels within an atom. This spectrum is called as atomic spectrum. Okay, the second definition we have seen atomic absorption spectroscopy and atomic emission spectroscopy, which is the spectroscopical analytical procedure for the quantitative determination of chemical element. Okay, so in this, what happens when uh, radiation falls on the sample. Suppose this is one sample. So the sample consists of atoms. So in that atom, the electrons are transferred from ground state to excited state, and during which the energy is absorbed. So due to the absorption of energy, they transfer from the ground state to excited state. So when this excited state electrons are unstable. Hence, when they loses the energy, they again come to their ground state. So this lose energy is called as the emission. So this is called as the atomic emission spectrum. They are produced when neutral atoms in the excited state emit the energy and return to their ground state or the lower energy state. The atomic absorption spectra, these are produced when ground state atoms they absorb the energy from radiation sources. So these are the three important definitions. One is the atomic spectra, second one atomic absorption spectra or atomic absorption, third one atomic emission. Then we have see the comparison between atomic emission and atomic absorption. Then we'll start with the introductory part of atomic absorption spectroscopy. It is also called as AAS. Generally, it is developed by scientist Alan Watch in the year 1950. So for the analysis of the elements of metal or metal elements, this technique is generally used. So for the quantity information about 70 elements, determination of quantity, these element analysis can be used. So these metal elements consist of aluminum, cadmium, lead, copper, nickel, like this. Then it is advantage is that it is very sensitive technique, so it can detect the elements when it is present in the parts per million, parts per billion, as well as the parts per trillion. So very minute or small quantity also we can determine these elements. Another advantage of is that this element can be determined by the presence of other elements. So if there is a mixture of elements are present, or the mixture of metals can be present. So thereafter we can determine the required element or the concentration of required element by using the atomic absorption spectroscopy, and they are generally used for the analyzing the metals which are present in the food, soil, water samples. The next part is the principle. So last time what we have seen the principle, I will go very shortly through this principle. So what happens when a sample is heated, then suppose this is a sample solution. So when it is heated in the flame, what happens? The solvent undergo evaporation and only the solid residue is formed. Okay, so in that solution, which solid material we have dissolved, that solid material remain as it is in the form of residue, while the solvent is evaporated. Now, this solid particles or the solid residue which is remain, it is kept in or it is present in the flame. So due to that, it undergo evaporation process. That is, they are converted into the gaseous state. During that, when they are present in the gaseous state, due to the flame temperature, some of the sample part they undergo in absorption of spectra, they undergo transmission or the transition from ground state to emission state, and some remain as it is in the ground state. So these emission excited state which are travel for their study, we have to go for the atomic emission spectroscopy. but the substance or the residue which remain as it is in the gaseous state. For that, we can go for the absorption spectroscopy. So in this one, what happens when the specific wavelength is passed through this ground state compound, which is present in the gaseous form, it can absorb some of the wavelength, some of the radiations, and another radiations they are transmitted. Okay, so for generally, if 50 radiations are there, so 25 may be absorbed, 25 may be transmitted. So that transmitted radiations they are detected with the help of detector, and these are the characteristics for the given metal or the given atom which is present in the ground state in the evaporation form or in the gaseous form. So that is the simple principle behind the atomic absorption spectroscopy. So this is the principle. So for example, NaCl solution is there. So when we are keeping NaCl solution in the flame, what happens? The solvent get evaporated, but the NaCl which is present in the solvent, it undergo converted into the solid residue form. When they are present in the flame, again they are converted into the gaseous molecule. When they are present in the gaseous molecule, a specific wavelength is passed through it. At that time, some of the wavelength or the sum of the radiation is absorbed and remaining it is transmitted. That transmitted radiations is the characteristics for the identification of these metals. So absorption of radiations by ground state or unexcited state gaseous metal atoms. That is the basis for the principle of atomic absorption spectroscopy. So it is based upon the principle of Beer-Lambert's law. According to that, log of I0 upon IT is equal to KLN0, where I0 we know intensity which is present or the initial intensity of the radiation. IT is the intensity of the radiation transmitted. Okay, so sample will absorb some radiation it will be transmitted. So that intensity of that transmitted radiation, it is IT. K is the constant, L is the path length of flame in centimeter, N0 is the number of atoms which are present in the ground state. So using this one, follow the Beer-Lambert's law. It is the principle of atomic absorption spectroscopy. Okay, so for that we require the flame. In the flame there are some oxidant and fuel solids. So these are the mixture: oxygen plus natural gas, oxygen plus hydrogen, oxygen plus acetylene. Similarly, air plus natural gas, air plus hydrogen, air plus acetylene, and nitrous acid plus oxide plus acetylene. Okay, so oxygen plus acetylene, it gives the maximum flame temperature or the maximum burning capacity, and minimum is there where air and natural gas is used. Okay, so this is the comparison in flame photometry. Immediate radiations are measured. In absorption spectroscopy, the absorbed radiations are measured. In imitation, the excited metal atoms, their study is being done. In absorption, unexcited or the ground state electrons or the metals, their study is done. It is emission phenomenon is based on flame temperature. Flame temperature. It is absorption phenomenon is independent of flame temperature. So they are limited flame for the alkali and alkaline earth metal, while atomic absorption spectroscopy are useful for determine more than 70 elements. So these are some applications. So the main part is that it is responsible for the analysis of metal which is present in the sample. Okay, so analysis of water, soil, and air samples for the finding out the metallic traces which are present in these parts. Then analysis of food sample. Then third one, determination of trace elements in various samples. Fourth one, analysis of molecular samples such as blood plasma for the content of these metals like calcium, magnesium, lithium, like this. Determination of lead in the petrol, how much amount it is present. If any metal poisoning is there or heavy metal poisoning, it can be determined. It is useful for the both qualitative as well as the quantitative, means for the determination of the unknown sample along with the determination of the unknown concentration. For both, it can be used. Okay, so this is the basic principle what we have seen in the last lecture. So we are moving to the next part, that is the instrumentation and the working of atomic absorption spectroscopy. Okay, so is the basic instrumentation of atomic absorption spectroscopy. Now coming to the first part of atomic absorption spectroscopy, which is a radiation source. So in a radiation source, when there is one cathode and anode is present. Cathode is made up of hollow cathode tube, and this anode it is made up of tungsten filament. Okay, so cathode is hollow cathode lamp, anode is tungsten filament lamp. Between cathode and anode, we are applying 300 to 500. What is it, sir? So in radiation source, it consists of fuel gas, generally inert gas, helium and nitrogen, which is present in these present. After applying 300 to 500 voltage, then the inert gas it undergo gas, helium and argon. It is present in this one, so it will attain element of interest which is present in the surface of hollow cathode tube. So when electrodes voltage is applied across anode and cathode, the ionization gas which is present in this part it takes place, and when the ionization takes place, it activates the hollow cathode tube surface. So hollow surface get energy, the cathode, and due to the taking the energy from element of interest. So generally our element of interest which is present on the surface of this hollow cathode lamp. So suppose calcium is our element of interest, so the calcium will be present. If sodium is there, so sodium will be present. Okay, so this cathode, this anode is present. Okay, so this is an instrument in which this is cathode when there is anode is present. Okay, so it is attached to the wire. So anode is generally tungsten wire. Okay, so 300 to 400 electron voltage can be applied across this anode and cathode. So when this voltage is applied across this anode and cathode, what happens? The gases which is present, the inner gases which is present inside this anode and cathode, they get ionized, and when they get ionized, they releases the energy. This energy is absorbed by the this cathode surface, which consists of the metal of interest. So when they absorb this energy, the metal of interest, then they go to the excited state. Then it will come to the ground state. When it comes to, so when they come from excited to the ground state, they emit the radiation, and the, these electromagnetic radiations, they are released. Then with the help of lens, they are observed properly. Then they go to the atomizer. So this atomizer they consist of a sample. This sample solution through atomization goes to the here in the form of flame in the form of vaporize. So solvent which is present it will vaporize, and when the solid is present, suppose NaCl solution is there, so water will be evaporated, but the sodium chloride the residue will remain as it is. So this electromagnetic radiation which comes from these they enters to the these residue, and when they to the these then again they pass, so there is a lens is present, monochromator. It select the monochromatic light, it goes to the photomultiplier for the recorder, or we can say for the detector. Okay, so once again I will tell you what is the mechanism. So here a tube is present. This tube consists of cathode and anode. So this is halo cathode lamp. It acts as a cathode. It is attached to, and there is one anode is present. This anode is made of tungsten, and it is filled with the inert gas. Okay, so when voltage is applied across this anode and cathode, the filled gas it undergo ionization. When they undergo ionization, they have some kind of energy. This energy is absorbed on the metal which is present on this halocathode lamp. So here on the surface of halocathode lamp, there is a metal is present. So metal of interest. So this absorb this energy, and when this metal absorb the energy from ground state, they goes to the excited state due to the absorption of energy. When they goes to the excited state, what happens? They are unstable. So again they returns to the ground state. So when they comes to the ground states, they emit some kind of energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So through this electromagnetic radiation, they exit. Okay, this exited electromagnetic radiation they fall on this sample. Actually, this sample is not present like this one. Actually, the sample solution is present here in atomizer. So this sample is spread in the chamber of atomizer where burner is present. This atomize this sample solution in which solvent is present, it go evaporation and the solid residue is remains. So this is the solid residue. So the electromagnetic radiation comes from the uh, anode and cathode. It falls on this sample. When it falls on the sample, so this sample absorbs some kind of electromagnetic radiation. So some intensity of EMR they are absorbed by this sample, remaining they are transmitted. So they are transmitted, they are passes through a lens and the monochromator, and finally they are detected by the moto multiplier with the help of digital or the with the help of computer. So this intensity which is transmitted, it is measured and it is the characteristic of a particular metal. So that is the simple working of the atomic absorption spectroscopy. So this instrumentation they consist of halocathode lamp, then nebulizer, atomizer, monochromator, and finally they consist of the detector. So the halocathode लॅम्पच्या सरफेसला मेटल असतो, मेटल ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. ओके, सो त्याच्यावर ज्यावेळी एनोड अँड कॅथोड मध्ये ज्यावेळी एनर्जी आपण अप्लाय करतो, व्होल्टेज वेन अप्लाय, so this metal undergo excitation, they transfer from ground state to the excited state, and again they comes to the ground state, during which they emit the energy in the form of electromagnetic radiation. So this electromagnetic radiation falls on the sample residue or the solid residue. So atomizer nebulizer काय करतात, ते सॅम्पल सोल्युशन आहे ते सॉल्व्हंट इव्हॉपरेट करतात आणि फक्त जे सॉलिड रेसिड्यू आहे ते असेच राहतात. So electromagnetic radiation which comes from the halocathode lamp, these electromagnetic radiation fall on the sample, and when it falls on the sample absorbs some kind of or the some intensity of these electromagnetic radiations, and some intensity it is transmitted. This transmitted, it passes through the monochromator, then it goes to the detector for the detection of the intensity of past electromagnetic radiation, and from that they come to know the what is the substance and in what quantity the substance is present in the metal. The traces of metal can be identified. Okay, so that is the instrumentation working. The atom of solid is converted into gaseous state in atomizer. The radiation of specific wavelength is emitted by the halocathode lamp onto gaseous atom in the atomizer. The monochromator's role क्या है? Monochromator focuses the specific wavelength on the detector, and detector finds the amount of light absorbed. Then by using the Beer-Lambert's law, that is the concentration of atoms in the sample is directly proportional to absorption, and we can find out the concentration of the metals which are present in the sample. Okay, so that is the block diagram for the instrumentation, or we can say that is the diagrammatic working of the atomic absorption spectroscopy is present. Okay, so what we are seeing in from halocathode lamp, there is a emission of a electromagnetic radiation takes place. When the emission of electromagnetic radiation takes place, the some ground state electrons or atoms they are transferred to the excited state, and the some they remain in the ground state. So which remain in the ground state, they will absorb these electromagnetic radiations, and then they emit the or they transmit the radiations. That transmitted radiation it is measured, and then it is detected, and from that we can analyze the given metal traces which are present in the given sample. So in short, instrumentation is there, power is supplied, so anode and cathodes are present on the halocathode lamp. On the surface there is a metal is present. When the power supply is there, it emits the radiations. These radiations through the rotating chopper, they are transferred to the these sample residue. Actually sample solution is present to the nebulizer. It enters into the atomizer. In atomizer, due to the heat or due to the flame, the sample solution in which solvent is present, that solvent is evaporated, and only the sample residue is formed in the form of solid particles. So this electromagnetic radiation comes or attack on this solid residue. Then through the grating they are transferred to the detector, then it is amplified, and then it is read out. So that is the main part of the instrumentation. Here you can see how the changes takes place when radiation source anode and cathode they are formed. So the gases which is present in the halocathode curve, these gases get evaporated. These are the inert gases, and they are transferred from the this window and these electromagnetic radiations. The next part, that is the first one, that is the source of the generation of this electromagnetic radiation, that is the halocathode lamp. So the lamp is filled with the inert gas like argon or neon. So this is suppose cathode, so it consists of argon or neon. When voltage is applied or when potential is applied, it causes the gas argon or neon to get excited, and it is driven towards the cathode. So the metal atoms are the scattered of the surface of cathode. So repeated bombardment of the metal atom by the gas, it causes the excitation So these gas ions they repeatedly falls on the metal. Due to the falling on the metal repeatedly, it undergo the excitation process. So it is excited and then it relaxes, producing the specific atomic emission line. So they again from excited state they returns to the ground state, and during that they emit some specific atomic emission lines which falls on the sample residue. So this halocathode lamp, this source produces emission lines specific for the element used to construct the cathode. So if calcium we have to detect, so calcium must be present on the surface. If sodium is there, sodium must be present on the surface of the halocathode lamp. Gold is, we have to detect the gold. Gold must be present on the surface of the surface of the halocathode lamp. The cathode must be capable of conducting the current for its work. So halocathode lamp or the source, that is radiation source. Halocathode lamp is most common source in the atomic absorption spectroscopy. So this lamp, what it consists of? It consists of a glass tube, and this glass tube is filled with the gases, either neon or the argon. These are the inert gases, so they are present in that glass tube. Then the cathode is cylindrical method cathode containing metal for the excitation and a anode. So the metal is present on the surface of the this cathode. When more amount of voltage or high voltage is applied across the anode and cathode, the gas, that is argon or neon, which is present, they undergo ionization. So the voltage increases. So gaseous ion acquires enough energy to eject the metal atoms from the cathode, and some of these atoms they goes to the excited state, and when again they returns to the ground state, they emits the energy. With the characteristic of metal. So many modern halocathode lamps they are selective for this type of metals or more amount of metals. So what are the events which takes place in the halocathode lamp? So ionization of yellow glass, suppose argon is there. Okay, so it absorbs the, it emits the electron, it undergo Ar plus. So this Ar plus fall on the metal, so metal undergo gases form, so they undergo from gases to the excited state, and when they comes against to the ground state, they emits the energy. The cathode consists of an element which is to be analyzed. So the lamp emitted by halocathode lamp has the same wavelength as the light absorbed by the analyte element. Okay, so hence different lamps are required for the different elements. So the type of halocathode tube depends on the metal being analyzed. For analyzing the concentration of copper, a copper cathode tube is used. So likewise, depending upon the metal which is to be analyzed, that metal is coated on the surface of the halocathode lamp. Okay, so this is the source, this is the structure or the diagram for the halocathode lamp. So it consists of halocathode at the center. This is the anode which is present. It is glass shield, and this is filled with the neon or argon gas at 1 to the 5 torr, and here the quartz or the pyrex window is present for the emission of the electromagnetic radiation. So in this way there is a radiation source, that is the halocathode lamp is present. So halocathode lamp is most common radiation source. Anode is tungsten. Halocylindrical cathode is the cathode. It is made up of element to be determined. They are sealed in a glass tube filled with the inert gas like argon or neon, and each element has the unique lamp which must be used for the analysis because it is made up of the elements to be determined. Then next source of the radiation or electromagnetic is the electrolysis discharge lamp. Okay, so this is the structure of electrodeless discharge lamp. So this is also a halo tube. It is the quartz window for the emission of electromagnetic radiations. Here a radio frequency coil or the microwave coil is present. It surrounds this lamp. The ideal house sealed with the quartz tube, that is the lamp. It contains argon gas and a metal of interest. So ह्याच्यामध्ये argon gas आणि metal of interest present असतं. The quartz tube is under high vacuum. A radio frequency or the microwave coil is present. It is 10 times more intense than the halocathode lamp. Unstable output and only available for the 15 elements. सगळ्या एलिमेंट साठी हे वापरू शकत नाही. So it is consist of a sealed quartz tube, that is the lamp. Okay, so this is the sealed quartz tube. So याच्यामध्ये इलेक्ट्रोड नसतात. सो याला आपण काय म्हणतो, इलेक्ट्रोडलेस discharge lamp, and it contains of the organ and the metal of the interest. Okay, so it consists of a small amount of metal or salt of element which is to be determined. It is sealed in the inside a quartz bulb, and the bulb is placed inside a small self-contained RF generator or driver. When power is applied to the driver, the RF field, radio frequency field, is created. Here you can observe. Here RF coil is present, lamp is present made up of quartz. Inside that is the presence of sample. Okay, so the coupled energy will vaporize and excite the atom inside, which is present in the bulb, that is the metal of interest. So some of them will be go to the excited state, some will be remain into the some of them, most of them goes to the excited state. When they returns to the ground state, it emits the electromagnetic radiations. This electromagnetic radiation is then absorbed by the sample. Okay, so they are typically much more intense, in some cases more sensitive than the halocathode lamp. Hence they are better precision and lower detection limits, where an analysis is intensely limited. Only 15 or 17 metals can be determined. Okay, so these are the electrolysis discharge lamp are available for these of the detection of these of the elements. So they are very limited use for electrolysis discharge lamp. Once again I will tell you what is electro discharge lamp. Actually the halocathode lamp, it is difficult to make this halocathode lamp due to its stability, because it consists of volatiles such as arsenic and germanium, or it consists of argon. Okay, so alternate source is the electrolyte discharge lamp. So what is electrolyte discharge lamp? So it consists of evacuative ट्यूब, आणि त्या इव्हॅक्युएटेड ट्यूबमध्ये दिलेला मेटल हा आपण प्लेस करतो, आणि ट्यूब आहे, सपोज ही ट्यूब आहे, तर ह्यामध्ये आपण तो मेटल प्लेस करतो, आणि ह्या मेटलमध्ये आपण अर्गॉन ॲट लो प्रेशरनं भरतो आणि तो सील करतो. आणि ही जी पूर्ण ट्यूब आहे, ही ट्यूब आहे ती मायक्रोवेव्ह डिस्चार्ज कॅव्हिटीमध्ये आपण ठेवतो, दॅट इज द रेडिओ फ्रिक्वेन्सी जनरेटर, आणि तिथं एक कॉईल असते. सो अंडर दिस कंडिशन द ऑर्गॅन becomes a plasma and causes excitation of metal sealed inside the tube, and the emission from the metal is that of its spectrum. So in this way the electrolysis discharge lamp work. So the last lecture we have seen the atomizer. In that we have seen electrothermal atomizer. Then atomization is the separation of particles into the individual molecules and breaking the molecules into the atoms. This is done by exposing the analyte to the high temperature in flame or graphite furnace. So last time what we have seen, graphite furnace, it is the electrothermal atomizer. Now in the flame, that is the flame atomizer. So flame atomization, electrothermal, hybrid atomization, whole vapor atomization, these are the some sample atomization techniques. Okay, so we are moving to the next atomizer, that is the flame atomizer. It is also called as flame atomization. So in that the nebulizers suck the liquid samples at control rate.
Okay, so nebulizer is there. This is the atomizer. So from nebulizer it sucks the liquid sample. Here the solvent or the sample is present to sample. With the help of nebulizer, the sample is transferred to the atomizer at the control rate, and it creates a fine aerosol spray for the introduction into flame. इथं वर flame असते, so इथनं fine sprayच्या स्वरूपात it is transferred to the flame. The mix the aerosol and fuel oxidant through the introduction of the flame. The aerosol is the colloidal form of fine particles or the liquid droplets in air or another gas. Okay, so flame atomizer is regarded as a continuous atomizer since samples are continuously introduced through the nebulizer with the control rate. Okay, so in the flame atomizer, what is the benefits? The liquid sample introduced to the atomizer to the nebulizer, and it is uses the slot type burner or increase the path length. So this is the flame atomization. Nebulizes sample into mixed conversion, mixed into the aerosol, that is the dissolution process, then volatilization process is the gaseous molecule, and finally they are converted into the dissociation atoms in the flame. They are converted, and the electromagnetic radiation they fall on these atoms which are present in the ground state. Okay, so in this way the flame atomization takes place, or the flame atomizer takes place. So the sample is present through nebulizer, it enters into the atomizer in the form of mist, then it dissolution takes place and it is converted into the solid gas aerosol, then they are converted into the gaseous material, and after converting into the gaseous molecules, these atoms are bombarded with the electromagnetic radiations. So what are the types of flames which are used in the flame atomizer? Acetylene plus air, acetylene plus nitrous oxide, acetylene plus oxygen. Okay, so these are some important flame atomizers which are used. So this selection of type depends upon the volatilization temperature of the atom of interest. So that is the types of flame. So if we are using the acetylene plus air, okay, so याच्यामध्ये आपण fuel plus antioxidant वापरतो. So if we are using the acetylene plus air, it gives the temperature that is the 2100 to 2400. If we are using the acetylene and nitrous oxide, it temperature can be increased to the 2600 to the 2800. And if we are using acetylene along with the oxygen, it goes to the 3050 into 3150 degree Celsius. And this selection of flame, it depends upon the volatilization temperature of the atom of interest. Okay, then next part in the flame atomizer, that is the structure of flame. So this is the structure of flame. So the next part is the structure of flame. So as seen in the figure, the flame is divided into different parts. So this part is the preheating zone. Okay, so this part is called as preheating zone. Then primary reaction zone or inner zone. So it is called as primary reaction zone or inner zone. Then next one, internal zone. So this is called as the internal zone, and finally it is called as the secondary reaction zone. Okay, and in the flame here there is a presence of premix gas and fine droplets of solution. Okay, so that is the structure of flame. So interzonal region, this is interzonal region. It is the hottest part of the flame and best for the atomic absorption. So the fuel reach best for the atom because oxidation of atom is reduced, and oxidation of atom occurs in the secondary combustion zone where atoms will form molecular oxides and they are dispersed. Okay, so they consist of here premix fuel and fine droplets of solution. Then this is preheating zone, then primary combustion zone, secondary combustion zone, and this is primary reaction zone. This is internal internal zone, inner zone or internal zone. Okay, so that is the structure of flame.